Where is Jiu-Jitsu going in 2025? That's the question we are going to try and answer on this edition of the Jiu-Jitsu Oracle with me, Ross, my co-host as always, Calum, and a very special guest, a good friend of ours and one of the top roosterweights in grappling and someone who you will hopefully see back competing at some point in 2025, Shay Montague. Shay, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
A bit cold, but other than that, yeah, I'm doing good.
Well, we're all in Scotland, so it's to be expected. Shay, let's do the hard sell first. While you're here, let's get the links in. Let's get some promotion. Let's not leave it till the end. Okay. Where can people, when people listen to this discussion and they realize how knowledgeable you are about jiu-jitsu, where can they find your stuff?
I have a Patreon where I post like technique videos with like a few a week and competition breakdowns and stuff. So all of the trends that are going to be coming up next year, they'll be covered on there. And you'll get to see me actually do the moves, which is more interesting than listening to me just talk about them, I promise.
And how does one find such a thing?
There's a link on my Instagram bio. Calum was talking about me putting a link in the video description to this, so hopefully either of those places.
Yeah. I think if they Google your name, they should be able to find it easy enough, right?
I've never actually Googled my own name, so I can't tell you. I can get back to you on that.
Well, that's something you can maybe use as a New Year's resolution. Google your own name in 2025, see what turns up. So we got Shay on. Shay is at the cutting edge of the jiu-jitsu scene. So really want to get his opinions about where he thinks the game's going in 2025, what the meta is going to be technique-wise, who you should be watching, and then what else we think is going to happen in jiu-jitsu. And obviously Calum, alongside me, is up to speed with the latest trends in jiu-jitsu as well. So I'm going to try and shepherd the conversation and then let those two guys give their thoughts. We think the biggest thing to happen in 2025 will be the second Craig Jones Invitational that should be happening in August with a team format. So Shay, what do you think about CJI coming back and what do you kind of expect from it?
Super excited that it was coming back. Slightly disappointed when I heard it would be a team format. It's quite entertaining if you're not like, it's entertaining, but I don't think it finds out the best grappler the same way the original format did. But I understand what they're trying to do, like probably alternating formats, right? Keep people interested and excited. Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. And interesting. It's just going to be a spectacle, isn't it? They doubled down on the spectacle things with the whole quintet style thing. So hopefully you'll get a few good, interesting matches you wouldn't have otherwise seen. And it continues to like put jiu-jitsu more out into the mainstream.
What was your thoughts on the first one, just as far as how the matches turned out and how much of that was a result of the rule set and the kind of environment that they used?
I really liked it, especially the under 77 division. That was super exciting. The cage war there was super duper exciting. I was less interested by the heavier division. There was a lot of matches there that weren't so exciting. And I don't know, I feel like the roster in that division was a bit weaker too. Like in 77, I really felt like I was seeing all the best athletes in the world at that weight competing. In the heavier one, I didn't feel like that was the case, and the matches were a bit more boring. So hopefully, moving forward, they can manage to secure a few more of those big names like the Merigali or Gordon Ryan, and to kind of spice up the bigger divisions.
When we're talking about CJI, if you have any comments, please fire into the comment section on our YouTube. If Craig Jones himself is able to comment on the Jiu-Jitsu Oracle's YouTube channel, then I'm sure you can as well. And you never know, he might pop up again when he hears this competition being mentioned. What do you expect from the team format then, Shay? And as a Jiu-Jitsu strategist, how would you play such a thing if you were involved?
You just need a few big guys that can like sub everyone super quick, right? Can run through a whole team.
It's easy.
Yeah. I think it's like, what is going to be the weight limit? Because I feel like it's going to be skewed towards heavier, but almost would rather it kind of averaged out at an 80 kilos. So if you want to have one of those big guys in, you need to chuck in a smaller guys to even it out. But I do feel like just because of the star power in some of the bigger gyms, they might skew it towards heavier people, but I would like to see an average of like 80 kilos. I think that would make it a bit more interesting.
It would have been good if they had like an under 80 kilo and an over 80 kilo team thing again, like they did last time, huh? That would have been really exciting. And we could have seen some fun matches.
Well, we'll see what happens. I think they've just said it's going to be a quintet style competition. So I don't think we know anything more than that. I'd expect there to be like that then, a weight limit, etc. But it's a good idea that maybe like if you split it and did two, maybe like 4-team events or something, you know, put the lighter guys up against each other and the heavier guys against each other, that could be good. But on you go.
It's hard to find the best team with this format because like you could have a team which has some of the best athletes in the world, but they're all tiny. Or you could have a team which has like some of the worst guys at the lower weights, nobody at the lower weights at all, but like 3 big guys. And then you're just going to win because you can have like, you have some people in there that just fill in and these guys sub the whole other teams. I think like the best team would like, if I could make a team battle, it would be like the wrestling duels where you have a weight class, each weight class, and they face each other. And like a submissions, extra points. Yeah, it's like an Aigo, exactly. Another $1 million tournament happening this year.
But I think that to me, the bit where I lose a little bit of interest in AIGA is how the teams are composed. I like what seems to be the idea for a CGI is that it's actually going to be gyms that are involved. By the look of like what's being posted so far, they will look to make it Atos or B Team. Maybe they can get New Wave, etc. I do like that sort of gym element being involved in it because then you can get behind your favorite team. You can root for them much like you do in other sports. And you would do in wrestling duels, right? You would root for the college that you like or whatever. So I think that'd be good from that point of view. That's the bit I'm not a huge fan of, just the way the AIGA teams are put together. It's a bit of a mishmash.
No, I agree there. Like they've just been throwing together a team that's likely to win. It's benefited me because I'm going to AIGA because of just this. Not a single one of the people on there is my teammate, but yeah, I agree. In terms of like rooting for a team, it's way more exciting. But it's tricky again because what do you do with a team like Gracie Barra or Checkmat? I will know the people on my AIGA team better than a lot of Gracie Barra athletes will know each other or Checkmat athletes will know each other. They've got hundreds and hundreds of skills. So how are they not cast as a super team? Is it only going to be like the Checkmat athletes that train at Lucas Leite's gym? Or are they going to allow all the Checkmat athletes in?
I would think maybe B Team will back themselves against whomever, that they wouldn't be super concerned about that. You know, if you made a Checkmat mega team, would B Team still favor themselves against it? I mean, if they do, then they're going to possibly allow it. If they don't, then maybe they change it a little bit. But the one thing on the B Team as well, I'd like to get your thoughts on, is if Craig doesn't take part in the team event and he just does a super fight, how much does that hamper B Team's chances? Because when we saw them do the quintet last time, Craig was the finisher in the team that was able to take out people on the other squad. Whereas like if you're just getting draws all the time, then it's, you know, difficult to get the win. So I think like his involvement in the team or lack of involvement will have a big effect on B Team's chances of winning it all.
Yeah, I think what really helps B Team is like the Pit and Nicky Rod's wrestling. They go together well to allow him to take the back in the way that he's not able to do in matches without the wall. So I think that makes him more of a submission threat than he was in Quintet. And I also think he's a lot better since then. But I do think if they actually pick the better athletes across most teams, it's hard to get submissions. How many submissions was there in the CGI? How many submissions was there in ADCC? When there's a submission, it's often towards the end of like a 14, 15-minute match, and it's super exciting. I don't imagine the match is going to be 15 minutes in a team match. And if the people are evenly matched, unless there's huge size disparities, I don't think there's going to be as many finishes as people think.
I think the caveat to that would be if we did see a healthy Gordon Ryan compete, which I don't think he would compete at this show, and I don't know if he'll be healthy, but I think Gordon being a try-hard to win for his team could quite easily take out some of the bigger names. Just seeing what he did to Nicky Rod and the likes in that last ADCC division where he was trying to save his energy for Andre Garval. I think in a dry setting where they've not really accumulated too much sweat yet and he's trying to win the matches by submission for his team, that could be something that we see.
Okay, why don't we move on to a little bit more of a chat about the Nogi game in general right now, and the submissions that we're seeing happen more often, and the submissions that we're starting to see a little bit less of. So, Shay, what do you think about where Nogi is right now in general, and what we're going to see more of in 2025?
We're talking about this before, and I was saying heel hooks have started to die. They've kind of reached a level where they're not useless. They're still an absolutely fantastic weapon, but they're just like any other submission. People have learned how to defend them. They're not super common. It's not just like the superpower you have anymore. And we've seen more of a return to like taking the back, whether it's through body lock passing or like berimbolos, crab ridey stuff, being the key to winning. Because there's a statistic on Dara's story today. There was 2 heel hooks in the whole of ADCC, but there was 23 rear naked chokes. So this is way, way, way more prevalent. So I think ways to get to the back it's always been the big thing in jiu-jitsu, but now we're seeing the like explosion of the berimbolo game with a lot of berimbolo specialists crossing over from the gi and managing to find ways to add that to the nogi, and especially with the crab ride. I personally think crab ride is super powerful nogi. It's always there when you're passing. A lot of the ways that people recover their guard, you can enter crab ride. It's really easy to enter when people extract their knee line from leg locks. So I think that's just going to explode.
Just keeping on your point there with the stats that you said Dara brought up from ADCC. Interestingly enough, when we were looking at the stats for black belt for Nogi Worlds, the amount of heel hooks that were done were quite substantial. I think it was still rear naked choke first, but a close second was heel hook. So do you think that the IBJJF scene in general for Nogi has still got a bit of catching up to do compared to the kind of guys that are doing ADCC?
No, I just think like heel hooks are such an easy and accessible way to submit someone that you're way better than, because you can skip out all the steps. And the first round matches at Nogi Worlds are nowhere near as competitive as the first round matches at an ADCC or a CGI. So people just choose the first available weapon. In a lot of these matches, I reckon these people could sub the person with almost whatever they wanted over the course of a 10-minute match. And the heel hooks, you can do that in like a couple of minutes, can't you? And though Cole Barty, though I disagree. I think he's got fantastic heel hooks and combines them brilliantly with his passing and his back takes. It's like so amazing how he's like with this Nogi game. It's essentially just attacking footlocks, but in like a positional sense too. When you see him take someone's back, it's like he's attacking a footlock, whether it's a toe hold, an ankle lock, and now he's swept them, took their back, or he's like passing. Oh, he's attacking footlock. Oh, he's passing. I think he's brilliant at it.
Calum, have you got anyone who's a good example of this from a graphics point of view? And then maybe we can talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, I can try to pull up Cole.
Okay, so it was said, we were chatting about Cole at the Nogi Worlds, and we were agreeing like he's got like an excellent blend of passing, leg attacks, and back takes. So do you think he's one that people should be studying, Shay?
For Nogi, 100%. The way he chains them together is so good. He has loads of interesting things he does where it's almost like he's threatening the toe hold from single leg X, and then it's like somehow entering the backside or like rolling all the way through to like outside reaps and then chasing up. And this sequence here against Marco Mendes is absolutely gorgeous, as I remember watching this.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Shay, but from my perspective, when I'm playing guard against someone where I just have to worry about the pass, it's a lot more comfortable compared to having to worry about the pass, worry about defending leg locks, front headlock attacks. It's just like a lot more things to deal with, and it just feels a bit overwhelming. I tend to get more tired in that situation as well. Do you feel the same sort of thing when you're playing guard and you have to deal with the threat of all those things as opposed to just the pass?
Yeah, like physically it's no harder, but mentally it's way more fatiguing.
Yeah.
Because you just have to have your head switched on the whole time. It's like when somebody can pass both sides, but now it's not just having to worry about them passing both sides. You have to worry about passing over the top. You have to worry about them submitting you. So yeah, it's way more stressful.
Yeah.
And Calum, can you bring up Wardzinski, and maybe we can get Shay's thoughts on sort of like the more prevalent berimbolos that are happening and straight ankle locks, which like the combination of those two really seem to be where the meta is, especially at this kind of weight class where Wardzinski competes at. So Shay, what do you think about that game?
Yeah, I think Wardzinski's got like a beautiful, beautiful game. Almost like too deadly for his own good. You see when he competes against people now, loads of them just don't want to do any jiu-jitsu whatsoever. But though they work so well together, those attacks, I think like it's like such a powerful double attack. The same as the passing and the heel hooks. Like the straight ankle lock and the Verimbolas, they go together so well because you often have an inside short hook, right? Like a short butterfly hook. It's easy to feed that through to the other side and start attacking the back. Whenever somebody kind of falls to the bottom to defend the leg lock, they just kind of accept it, start pulling their legs back. That's a great time to attack the back too. And Matthias has kind of mastered that.
Have you had the chance to train with him or see him at close quarters?
Yeah, he's on my Eiger team, so we trained together before that. It was like a couple of days full of competition, so thankfully he wasn't actually putting on the straight foot locks. But it was super fun to show him. He would enter them and like wrap my ankle, and like without even trying to put it on, I felt like in danger. It's like that meme of No House on the Bus being like, I'm in danger now. And we combined so nicely with the Verimbolas.
Did he share any details that you hadn't came across before? Or did you not really get to go into it?
Oh no, I asked him so many questions. Yeah, he's especially the straight foot lock. My straight foot lock leveled up instantly.
What were some of the takeaways from that?
He does a grip that I'd never seen anyone else do. Which is like here and then like, well, maybe see if I can put my phone in between my legs. There we go. And he goes like this and then lifts it up. Those made a really big difference to the pressure. Kind of like arm over the bicep. And one thing he said is like, as soon as he feels the big toe in the armpit, he starts trying to put on the straight foot lock, and he knows that he'll probably be able to get a break even if everything else isn't perfect. And as soon as I started just feeling for that big toe to touch my armpit and putting it on, like, it's so powerful.
Is that the cue for him to start attacking the inside of the foot?
Just to start attacking the foot lock, you know. And I've been playing around lots. I've also been able to roll and drilling with that. And then if they put their leg down, it's like the shin lock that Pato does. I think this is going to get really big over the next year because it combines fantastically into like Nogi matrices and stuff. Like you've seen Cole do that loads. He attacks the shin lock and then feeds legs through and attacks the back. Like if you combine that with the high straight foot lock that Wardzinski does, and then when they pull it down, like the hip shin lock that he does, it's just going to be super powerful. So it's how Diego Pato broke Cole's shin. I imagine now Cole does it. It's like he got caught with it and he's like trying to use it, but he puts his forearm on his own hip and leaves the shin in there so that he can bridge through the shin with his whole body. Because you're not going to break someone's shin up here, but you can like bridge like you would like what's the one that the girls do for their bump? Like you put the
hip thrust.
Hip thrust, yes, like a hip thrust through the bottom of the shin, and then you like triangle your legs and stamp down, so the leg's completely stuck in there, and you hip thrust with all of your weight through it, and you can actually really pop people's shins. I tried it on the biggest people in the gym, like, would you tap? And they're all saying yes, and I'm tiny, so it's super, super powerful.
I call it the shin bar. Soleus always gets me with it. Anytime you can overhook my shin and get a foot on my hip, then I just tap. Like, I can't rip.
Yeah, fuck, like a slightly torn tendon in your foot's one finger snaps into the other, isn't it? You don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah, so just for those listening, Soleus, one of our training partners at SBG in Aberdeen, and I did wonder whether Calum would get triggered by talk of shin locks.
Salty about it.
Shin bars, because yeah, he is still salty about it. Saul's ability just to wrap up his shin and squeeze really hard. One more athlete I want to talk about in this Nogi section, Levi Jones-Leary. Calum, I know you were wanting to get Shay's opinion about Levi's guard and the way he uses guard Nogi and the way guys play that supine guard. So I'll leave the questions up to you.
Yeah, so it just seems like we're getting a bit more of people playing supine, like on their back, as opposed to playing seated, playing that like framey game, looking to get into the legs, looking for the back, a bit of resurgence in that. So just wondering what your thoughts on that were developing into next year.
Yeah, I think we'll see more people doing it, but I don't think it's going to be like the world's biggest thing because it involves quite a lot of like a strong base of flexibility, and you have to mind your P's and Q's so much. In the gi, it's a little bit easier because you can control people's sleeves, whereas it's very hard to control people's sleeves and movement Nogi, so you have to be so on top of everything. And you can see when watching Levi and CGI how deliberate he was with every foot placement, how early he would shut down passes and stuff. But you have to be, one, super patient for that, two, exceedingly knowledgeable, and three, really flexible. So he's like the perfect combination of that. And I think we are going to see this from people of his level and his caliber, and specifically, I reckon people that come from the gi environment where they've learned the foot placement for the lassos and stuff. but I don't think it's going to take over the game.
Yeah, and we're just wondering your thoughts on the limitations of this, because just like the clip you can kind of see there with Ty, it seems like it has a bit of a limitation against guys that are good at wrestling and really hard to sweep, and it seems like if it was combined a bit more with like a wrestling up sort of game and then an ability to stay on top from that, it would be a bit more effective. Do you think that's something that would benefit someone with Levi and Mateus's game?
For sure, for sure. But I think that the trouble with like you have to be seated up to wrestle up, right? So if you get really good at the wrestling up, why wouldn't we just skip a stage and start seated up? So like people's like prior skill set, whether that's like berimbolo and footlocks or wrestling, probably dictates which one of these two guards they put time into. It would be cool to see somebody like extremely sick wrestling with like Levi's bolo game. So as soon as the person tries to flee from it, they could combine with the wrestling. This would be really, really cool to see. I mean, especially from Levi too, because Levi has such nice passing. Some of the more like the better pressure passing in the Nogi. I think whenever you've seen glimpses of it, you can tell his opponents really don't feel comfortable. So it would be cool to see maybe him add that to his arsenal.
While we're on Levi, I just want to get your thoughts on the judging in his final match with Cade, because I know there's quite a lot of split opinions on that.
I think Levi won, but then I'm a dirty butt scooter, so I'm probably a little bit biased. It was definitely close, but I think Levi won. He was like definitely like had the more meaningful attacks. I don't like this whole like wrapping in a steamer lock or flinging yourself at someone's head and that being called a meaningful attack. Whereas I feel like Levi was actually every time he would get a connection, it seemed like he was quite threatening. So I would have given him the win for that. But any rule set like this where it's judges, it's so subjective, it's hard to really understand what they're looking for.
So with that said, Shay, where's like your game maybe heading then? Because like you've got a very, very good guard from being on your back, extremely difficult to pass. But then you're saying that like there's value in wrestle ups, etc. And then like I'm thinking about like what weight class you compete at. So like how do you see that in the round for like where your games maybe going?
My game I think is like after the baby shot match. As the watching, I'm a little bit more seated to start. Because against most people, I'm flexible enough and have good enough attacks and understanding of the guard to attack. And I reckon in roosterweight, I still will from my back. But like somebody of his caliber and strength, like he could grab my legs and then I couldn't do anything with them. So I needed to like have his hands more occupied. So I think maybe a slightly more seated game with dealing with the hands, or like put more time into attacking the upper body, whether it's like Owen or Flanagan style, like arm attacks to get them to expose their legs, and a healthy strength and conditioning program.
And that's interesting because Callum, that's some things that you've been working on recently, right?
Yeah, no, coming out of Nogi Euros, I felt like, there were situations where the opponent I was against didn't want to engage, and it would have been useful for me to like chain that into some wrestling up. So that's what I've been working on personally.
And the strength and conditioning program.
Oh, the strength and conditioning as well, yeah.
So we have the beach bodies in time for summer. I also think there's unexplored like avenues that combining the wrestling up with berimbolas and stuff. For like the most basic example in the world, if you're on a single leg and the person pushes back into you, you can sit into like a deep berimbola, right? And fall them back. This is really basic, but there's loads of opportunities for stuff like that. Like my hobby, like I watch for enjoyment and not for study, is like the wrestling, so like the NCAAs and like the freestyle wrestling, and the amount of positions they end up in the wrestling where I'm like, that's just a berimbola, that's just like a stomp bola, that's just like 50-50 spin through to the back. Like it's like, and I think that you could easily work that in jiu-jitsu. So I reckon maybe I'm looking at wrestling, but wrestling to then find avenues to the back.
Well, I thought there was much more wrestling to the back in Nogi Worlds that just happened. There were clean 4-point scores that started with wrestling and guys finding their way at the back. There wasn't loads of examples of it, but there was certainly examples through the tournament that I saw. So I wonder whether that is an avenue that could be exploited more.
With you saying that, Shay, let's just do a hypothetical and say that Bo Nickel comes to you to be his jiu-jitsu coach. What kind of game would you mold for him to have to dominate in the jiu-jitsu scene?
Oh, the seated guard to like wrestle ups, 100% raise on bottom. And then on top, there's this like the head point, which is like your head being on the far side of their hip once you're around the outside of the legs. You'll see J-Rod finish a lot of his passes here and not the passes on the outside. And just tell him to just look to get your head there anytime you can. If you get your head there, you'll pass the guard. This is just what I teach the kids. So I teach Bo exactly like I teach the kids. Wrestle ups, head there, and then like overhead sweep and some bearing bowlers.
Okay, any more Nogi chat?
Don't think I've got too much to bring up.
Okay, I would like to bring up a couple of athletes that we'll see compete, hopefully, in the gi in the new year. We've got the Euros coming up, and Diego Pato and Meiram Monique have both signed up in the same division. So, banger alert, we could see an amazing match early in the new year. Shay, I know you want to talk about these two athletes and the featherweight division in general. So
they have Baby Shark in there too. That's
really?
a really good division, yeah.
Awesome. So what's your thoughts on the division and the jiu-jitsu that we might see?
Yeah, we spoke about this loads last time I was on, that featherweight is just the best division in jiu-jitsu. Super competitive. Nobody's able to ever really put a stamp on the division. And I thought that Meiram had put a stamp on the division. And then we recently had VJJ Stars and he lost to Fabricio Andre. So his stamp's been taken off. It's wide open yet again. And we have this force to be reckoned with in the light feather division, this untouchable object in the gi, which is Diego Oliveira, who's won the crown against much bigger people, beating multiple world champions, destroyed everyone at Worlds, made it look easy. And he vocally said at the end of the crown that he's moving up to featherweight. He wants to get bigger, he wants to stay there. And it's even more exciting because him and Meiram have history. They've shared 2 Worlds finals together. It's going 1-1, both very close, tense matches. So yeah, and now it seems like they're going to be the two front runners in an otherwise already ridiculously talented divisions, and we're probably going to see them compete a whole bunch over the course of the year, and I think it's going to be super exciting. I can't wait to watch.
So it's possible. Well, feuds may be a bit strong, but rivalry of the year could be Meiram and Diego then.
Yeah, rivalry. I imagine they're actually quite friendly because they're both from Manaus, and all the boys from Manaus seem to like each other. But yeah, a rivalry.
Well, as a pro wrestling fan, I am a pro wrestling fan, so instantly thinking of a feud through the year. But no, we'll call it rivalry for this sport. So kind of like, how do you see it? How do you see it going? I mean, like before the guys make adjustments when they start facing each other and all that. So like, let's just say their third match happens at the Euros. Have you any predictions as to how it will go?
Yeah, I think Pato is a bad match for Meiram. I think there's way more chance that Pato gets beaten in the rounds before than there is that Meiram gets beaten in the rounds before. But I think Pato's a horrible match for Meiram. Every time they faced, Meiram's not got close to passing him. And usually Meiram gets close to passing everyone. Like his small legs seem to really give Meiram's like jumpy, flying through the middle style fit. And even the match where Meiram beat Pato in the World's Final, it was a ref's decision. And in my opinion, Pato had been attacking the whole match. I thought it was like a questionable decision at best. So yeah, I think that if they haven't made adjustments, the same thing will happen again. I almost think like moving up for Meiram, like the heavier he gets, the easier it'll be for him. As people get less and less flexible and he gets more and more space between their knees and their body, it'll be easier for him to pass. Like you saw as soon as he got on top of Jansen's like, fuck this, stood up. Pato's not going to do that. And Pato will be able to close that space. So I think Pato wins close match, last minute 2, something like that.
Just to kind of bridge the gap from the gi to the no-gi talk. So in this division, I know Meiram's done some no-gi competitions as of late, but he's still not really up there on that sort of scene. But do you think the guys that also do no-gi, the guys like Baby Shark, Pato, Fabricio in this division have got some sort of advantage over the guys that just do the gi? Or do you think it's more favoured to just do gi throughout the whole year? Like, what's your thoughts on doing both and whether that can lead to an advantage compared to people that just do one?
I don't know if it necessarily gives you an advantage, but sometimes it allows you to start training new areas that you might not have put time into, which can then go back and positively affect the other area. You see like Pato doing things that are essentially like a lot of his leg lock entries in the gi now, and then combining it with back takes. But you could, if you trained deliberately and had foresight, do that only while training the gi. But I think sometimes it just galvanizes new ideas in your head that you can then apply.
Okay. One more athlete to talk about while we're on the gi. One athlete that we've talked about a lot on the podcast because we love his game and we love how it's developed. And Shay, I'd be interested in getting your views on him. But Adam Wardzinski had an absolutely amazing year in 2024. Why do you think he's now so dominant, and what do you expect from him in 2025?
Yeah, he's like a whiskey, isn't he? Just seems to age, get better and better with age. He seems to have put together like some elements that he didn't have in his game. You can see in the clip on the screen, there's suddenly loads of like more wrestle ups, open guard style, like Nogi foot harassment stuff that he uses really well. And he's horrible on top. He sweeps into positions where he can immediately put loads of pressure and crush you in a division where people aren't too good at dealing with like heavy pressure. They're not like little bendy balls. They're going to eventually fold. And I think this is one of the reasons he's done so good. I think he's also benefited a little bit from people like Kanan and stuff's move to Nogi, the people that always gave him the most trouble and he was never really traditionally able to beat, aren't really competing in his divisions anymore. Other than, I suppose, to say that he always lost to Gustavo Batista and then he beat him at the Crown. So maybe he'd beat Kanan. That would be a match to make. The Gi super fight. Let's make it happen.
Just when you mentioned, like, obviously he's getting better with age, I find that one of the more interesting things about jiu-jitsu, the kind of range of ages that people can find success, from 16 years old to people in their early 40s. And obviously PEDs can be part of that, which is what we're going to get onto soon. But
are we? Is that what we're now doing on the Jiu-Jitsuoracle? Getting on PEDs?
Well, the agenda.
Don't tell you so.
Yeah, as far as Adam, I don't know if you agree that it's quite a lot to do with his style of jiu-jitsu, especially with what you're saying, his kind of passing. And I would think the older he gets while still staying relatively athletic is actually going to be like in favor for him, the more skilled he gets and the more isometric strength he gets, compared to someone like maybe Mayram, whose reactions might start to fade in their early 30s, which is the age Adam's at. So I was wondering your opinion on that, how much someone's game dictates what age they peak at and whether some athletes might need to change their game as they get older.
Yeah, 100%. I think like traditionally you can do better until you're older and the heavier weights way easier because it's less speed based. I think like Adam's game is like a slow locomotive. It's like an unstoppable force, and Mayram's like your fancy flash new Lamborghini. Those Lamborghinis age a bit faster than a train. You see still some of the old trains going about the tracks. So yeah, he can just tire people out. He doesn't need to be super athletic. He just needs to be quite strong, but that stays into a decent age. I reckon Adam will be competing successfully for like 5-6 years easily. I mean, Cyborg's still competing successfully in that division in the Nogi, which you have to be even more athletic and doing well. So
Like as well.
Well, okay. Final, Callum, you lose the screen share so we don't speak about any athlete in particular. Bring up our faces, and then we can chat a little bit about PEDs, which I know Shay has been
We can
posting it out.
Because we can bring up one athlete because he told me about it. This guy.
Okay. To be fair, Gordon Ryan does have a YouTube video up where he speaks about his steroid use in jiu-jitsu, or PED use. But Shay, you've been posting a little bit about this for people who don't follow your Instagram and should follow your Instagram. What do you think about this?
Yeah, like I just think that like the thing that annoys me is like people are going to use steroids in jiu-jitsu. I don't think they should be allowed to, but it's the reality and people are going to use it. I'm not going to hate any individual athlete because of it. There's definitely going to be an asterisk next to their results. What I do hate is when people seem to pretend that they would have won all the exact same things they did without being on steroids. And I'm like, what in the world of cognitive dissonance is this? Why would you be on something that shortens your life, that makes you less likely to have babies, probably shrinks your testicles when you would have won anyway? You're fully aware deep down inside somewhere that you need those to achieve what you did. I'm sure you'd have still achieved many things and your jiu-jitsu would still be great, but you didn't believe you would do what you did without the steroids. So just admit that. Be like, I used steroids because I wanted to win more than I could have naturally. whether that's because other people are on steroids, because you had an injury, because you're old and you wouldn't still be able to compete, whatever your reason, just admit it. And that's if you're going to say you're on steroids, be like, it's because I wanted to win more than I could with my natural ceiling. Just say it.
Well, I tend to think that Gordon's video is more about him justifying his PED use to himself rather than trying to justify it to everyone else. But I'm not a psychologist, but that's kind of the way it comes across. And maybe deep down he is aware of these things that you're bringing up there. But I was trying to create a narrative to say otherwise.
I would love a video series where it's just Gordon Ryan and he talks about the issues he has with himself and justifies them. It's like, how could you do that to your brother? This is why. Just go through them all. Laugh back, just the slow unraveling of a slightly crazed man on the internet. That's my favorite sort of thing.
Well, as for anything that might be on that, we'll wait until Gordon deals with anything in his own words. But yeah, it could be an interesting series for sure, Shay. Absolutely. Calum, what do you think about the whole PED situation in jiu-jitsu?
I mean, yeah, like Shay says, it kind of is what it is at this point, and I think jiu-jitsu really doesn't have identity too much as far as competing. It's like every single competition is almost a different rule set, and then they've got their own policies about steroids and whatever. So I think until we have a governing body that everyone is kind of commits to that has a stringent steroid policy, then it's just going to be the way that it is. I think one interesting talking point, just with how rampant it is and kind of how I brought up before with the age ranges, people competing to a good level in their early 40s, which they wouldn't be able to do in other sports, probably because of steroids, is how people taking steroids shifts our opinion of what we think good jiu-jitsu is. Like, I think obviously the people that are competing at the highest level and the people that you watch, they shape a lot of what everyone else is doing because people look for the best people to copy their techniques, etc. So I just wonder how much different that would be and how much different people's perspectives would be of what good jiu-jitsu is if everyone wasn't on steroids.
What do you think? Yeah,
I think you can kind of tell. Sometimes there's someone you know they're on steroids and you can tell they're still doing good jiu-jitsu. And then sometimes there's somebody that's maybe like a mediocre lightweight and maybe trains like an English GB or something and then becomes a super heavyweight and manages to medal at competitions. And you can tell that that's bad jiu-jitsu. So I think the people that know. I think what people would, like if there wasn't steroids, you would see submission defense suddenly become way more taken seriously. The amount of times people just let their shit get ruined because they know they're going to be back in no time. And the people go to the gym like, I'm going to try this like late stage defense. It's like, if you weren't on steroids, you just wouldn't have the balls to do that, I'm afraid.
So ultimately for people that are listening, viewing this, what we're maybe suggesting is that you have to give some consideration to the jiu-jitsu you see at the elite level and how it might be influenced by what some guys are taking.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Right. Well, my point of view is I find the whole illegal in jiu-jitsu phrase really difficult because steroids, PEDs, there's a legality to them. I think just because you can get a doctor to prescribe you something, it doesn't necessarily mean that doctor's acting in a legal way. So I think guys getting access to it, it's there's a legality issue there. When it comes to jiu-jitsu, it's whether they're like prohibited or not. But I think the phrase legal in jiu-jitsu doesn't make any sense to me. Just because like jiu-jitsu doesn't really bother to do a lot of jiu-jitsu events, doesn't bother to do testing, doesn't mean that like you can put absolutely anything in your body that might be illegal. Because PEDs is a broad scope. So some of the stuff people taking is illegal. And then the other thing is like, well, how are you getting it? And is there like a legality issue there with how you're acquiring it? So I think like ultimately as well, the way Gordon said it in trying to justify it, he said, if any competition, I'm paraphrasing, and he might want to correct me, but it basically came across like if any competition said, we don't want steroids in this competition, then I wouldn't compete in it. Or I would kind of respect that. So
is hilarious considering he done Nogi Worlds when steroids were banned.
Well,
And he's like, I didn't know. It's like there was multiple people that had been like banned from IBJJF competition for steroids before that date, and he'd even referenced these in other posts. And the level of cognitive dissonance from that man is just beyond me.
I believe he disputes the dates, but just to put his side of the story across.
Pendia was banned in 2014, and Trumpet Dan, the man, the myth, the legend, one of the most intelligent men in the whole world, he managed to find the IBJJF page from 2017, but in like the safe data banks or whatever, and it clearly said when you signed up for Nogi Worlds, steroids are illegal.
Yeah. So I think at the very least, competition should be saying steroids are not accepted here. And then at least then, if they didn't do testing, but guys won, like we could definitely be putting asterisks against them.
I think it really undermines jiu-jitsu. So like everyone's talking about we need to make jiu-jitsu better for like a wider audience and more accepted. It's not a single universally accepted like popular sport that doesn't ban steroids, doesn't ban PEDs. The only other sport that's open about steroids that I can tell is jiu-jitsu is like powerlifting and bodybuilding, which are like almost international laughing stocks. Like people always laugh at those sports. It's like you don't want to become that. You don't want to become some circus of like roided up angry men with small egos if you probably have strange beliefs. You don't want to be seen as that in people's eyes. And steroids is part of that. You need to get rid of it. You need to stamp it out of the sport.
Yeah, it's just a really bad pressure to have to deal with, that like if you're wanting to make it as a top athlete in sport, you have to consider doing steroids just to compete with some of these people, and especially for the younger people getting into the sport that see that with the people that have the most influence like Gordon and Craig openly doing it. It's just not really the best road to be going down.
No. Let's talk about something more positive. On our Jiu-Jitsu awards, we did not give out a team of the year, but I know Shay wants to give props to who he considers to be the best team right now, and perhaps you can enlighten us as to why you're so high on them. So we have Art of Jiu-Jitsu, who absolutely smashed it in 2024, and look to be going from strength to strength. So first off, why do you like Art of Jiu-Jitsu's practitioners so much, and do you think like their reign of success will continue through 2025, Shay?
I think it will. I think that they've got quite a talent factory there. Whether it's bringing up the young generations from kids or like sharpening the tool sets of people that were already established athletes. What's nice about them is like the jiu-jitsu of their top guys is very clean and consistent too. You can kind of tell that it's been worked on in a deliberate manner. There's a lot of grapplers who are like some of the best in the world, but you can kind of tell that they just sense something and do it. But you can tell from each of the athletes in AOJ that's like one of their like poster boys that they've gone into these situations, worked out the best thing to do, drilled it, talked about it with Guy, and came back, which purely from a selfish point of view is great because you can watch these people and learn way easier. It's probably one of the reasons I like them. They're great to steal moves from.
From a jiu-jitsu growth, a jiu-jitsu development point of view, do you think like the professionalism with how Art of Jiu-Jitsu approach training, etc., is what we're going to see more of? They seem to be leading the way from that point of view. You know, Jiu-Jitsu's been behind a lot of other sports because it's in kind of a newer sport at the top level. So the way Art of Jiu-Jitsu go about things, do you think there's a lot of lessons to be learned for other gyms, or we're going to see more gyms kind of trying to replicate what they do?
I think we'll see gyms try and replicate it. I don't know if it will necessarily be successful. I think there's lots of ways to create a successful training environment, and this one is very reliant on, I think Guy really spearheads it with his ability to like manage everything, be so involved. I think it'd be hard to find another figure like him, but we'll see people taking little bits from them, whether it's like their social media training for athletes, whether it's like their branding as much as their actual like the way that they structure their classes. As far as I can, like their classes, other than being earlier in the morning, are like other jiu-jitsu classes. You do drilling, you talk about techniques, you use spar. It's the same. People know how to do that stuff.
That's what I was alluding to. Like I used the word professionalism, so it seems to be that like they've upped the level from where jiu-jitsu was like, 10, 15 years ago in terms of like trying to have a bit more of a professional operation. I wonder if like I'm not to say that like you couldn't just get better training with a small group. And you see that like MMA's had that, they've gone from like the big teams having loads of success through to like little groups of guys training with great coaches. But I just wonder with jiu-jitsu whether like art of jiu-jitsu are pushing forward with like the professionalism, and they're going to force like some other people to like up their games a little bit, or we might not. We might see it go completely the other way. But I just wondered whether you saw what they do kind of like outside of the techniques as being something that like people could learn from.
I think people will learn from it, but I think like that it's important to kind of have your own brand. If everyone just tries to be LJ clones, they won't get any attention. It's funny that the two biggest things in jiu-jitsu right now, one is like this professional clean white thing, and the other's like cocaine and hookers. And you can decide which one of those is the way that you want to go, which one's more fun. Monday to Friday. Yeah, maybe one Monday to Friday and the other Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, get it the right way around. Otherwise, yeah,
And the cocaine and hookers Monday to Friday.
Okay, and one more thing I want to talk about, or you want to talk about, is like where the comp scene is going to go next year, particularly with looking at contracts where athletes might end up, where a lot of those AOJ guys might end up competing. What do you think about the landscape for competitions in 2025, Shay?
Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it? Like with the exclusive contracts for Fight Pass, or what it seems like there's exclusive contracts. Because I think those really do limit your options. Like way less people talk about the Fight Pass Invitational than talk about any like IBJJF Major or CTI or ADCC. And I think often the exclusive contracts are an excuse for an athlete who doesn't really want to compete and risk their status to say no to other people and get paid for it.
Screen right now.
Mikey and Felipe.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering if that was directed towards Mikey. I kind of spoke about something similar on one of the previous podcasts about Mikey not really facing the best competition the last few years.
Yeah, I have no idea regarding Mikey. It would be nice to see him in tournaments, but he's cemented his legacy as one of the best. I don't think he has to do that. It's a shame that the Cade match didn't happen. That was one I was super excited for. But yeah, it was slightly strange matchmaking there with the Fight Pass Invitation. I think we'll see more of that. So many of the matches on there are so strange. Like, they just don't make sense. It's not a match that anyone's asking for, like most of the card, which is a shame to like have. Yeah, it's bad too. Greg Jones said this, and I was agreeing, like, by putting it behind a paywall and exclusive contracts, nobody's going to find out about it that aren't already interested in jiu-jitsu. Fight Pass is like leeching off the growth that already exists in jiu-jitsu, like the organic growth. They're not going to add to it at all.
So what would you do as an athlete, Shay? If
Fight Pass asked me to compete, as long as it wasn't an exclusive contract, I'd love to do it. But I would say no to an exclusive contract for sure. Unless they pay me, but it's all about money, isn't it? Like, I wouldn't mind facing retired MMA fighters for like 50 grand a pop. If that's never going to happen. There's someone out there listening to this wants to give me that opportunity, I'll do it.
I think that the issue with the contracts as well, though, is like, if you sign an exclusive contract with a promotion, you're relying on that promotion to give you matches. And I've heard of athletes getting frustrated with certain promotions because they don't get the matches, and then they're tied to a contract that means they can't go and compete anywhere else. So you've got to be careful. Like, you might get the money for 1 or 2 matches, but then if you've signed a 5-match deal and you're sitting on the shelf for a couple of years waiting for them to give you matches, that's not a good situation to be in.
I really hope your manager would be like, if it's like a minimum of 3 fights a year, and if not, you pay us for those fights.
Yeah. Managers, does that happen in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I swear, like, some of your Chantry, like, managers, like, half the big jiu-jitsu people, and then the other half are managed by that Victor Doria guy. I think those two, like, have quite a big roster of athletes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, like, your manager does the right thing. I just think as well, like, the CGI jumps in out of nowhere, and then big money's on the line. I don't know, if you couldn't have access to that, then obviously that would be
one of the beautiful things for jiu-jitsu is you can compete all over the place and really expand your brand in like different rule sets, different formats, and to sign something that gives that away, one of like the nice freedoms about being a jiu-jitsu athlete compared to other combat sports, seems stupid to me.
And what's your take on the other side of the coin then, the IBJJF, and whether they should pay more, or is their current situation fine? What do you think?
I mean, they pay you if you win Gi Worlds, right? I don't know if they pay you if you win Nogi Worlds or not. They should. I'm sure that's the future. Everyone slags on the IBJJF, but they generally tend to listen to people, whether it's bringing heel hooks, rule changes. They're going to bring heel hooks in for masters, I've heard too. Like for all their like events like the Crown and stuff, they've like been super harsh on stalling. They've listened to absolutely everything everyone wants. The IBJJF are not like these horrendous bodies. The Nogi guys that don't like to compete in them and like to slag them and say the reason I'm fighting on some local sub-only show in like some stinky backroom bar thing and competing on the, like an Empire grappling for 50 quid instead of spending 100 for IBJJF is because IBJJF is a horrible, cheating Brazilian bastard. But they're actually good. So I have no hate for them. I hope they stop paying the Nogi guys if they've not, but I'm all for the IBJJF.
So do you think they should maybe pay more at black belt?
Yeah, I think like maybe like prize money for each of the majors. Doesn't even have to be anything crazy, Gi and Nogi. But the exposure that you get from like, say Gi Europeans Day, that probably gets like 20, 30, 40, 50 times more traffic than any Fight Pass Invitational will. People like the tournament format, you're going to get seminars off of that. And you have to do those sort of tournaments if you ever want to be considered for being invited to the Invitational anyway. So I think like they have a really important place in jiu-jitsu.
Okay. Anything else you're looking forward to in 2025, Shay, with jiu-jitsu?
Hopefully maybe like a Jansen Mika match at some stage would be lovely. Or like any combination of Tane and Jansen Mika. We were talking about this last time. That'd be really cool to see. No, that's it. CGI, lots of every featherweight, light featherweight rooster match is going to happen. Dian Nogi.
Calum?
Without risking opening a can of worms, I was going to ask Shay about training methods going into 2025. So I know looking at your social media, you seem to be on the ecological bandwagon once it came out, and I think a lot of people were, and then realized it's not like the end all be all of training, and then kind of just incorporated it into whatever people were doing anyway. So I was wondering if that's kind of the stage you've got to, or what your opinions on
I think like being like a dogmatic about the training approach is pretty stupid. I think ecological approach and being like an ecological warrior is stupid. I think doing no specific training and only drilling for hours is stupid. There's a very happy medium. The post I put up on my story, like oh, we'll be doing some games tonight, is more just because people find it fun and they want people to come and have a fun environment to train. I think Greg Saunders' like dogmatic belief in the ecological approach is so stupid. It's funny to listen to him speak. It's just all people trying to justify something when there's like, you obviously need to be given information. It's like if I set you like a bunch of games to build a computer, or I told you how to build a computer, you're going to build a computer a lot faster if I told you how to do it. And it would be crazy to think that his students consume no jiu-jitsu knowledge. Like they haven't watched a single instructional, they've not taken advantage of the internet. So the best way to train, in my opinion, is like lots of specific exploring on the positions you want to work, consume as much information as your brain can handle, whether it's matches, instructionals, and then spar an absolute shit ton. If you do those three things, you'll probably get better.
Yeah. Cal, I'm going to lose the Fight Pass Invitational 9 graphic.
Yep.
Thank you. And I tend to like two things. One, I think you said fantastic thing there, Shay, in particular, like keep it fun. So like we can lose that aspect in training. So I think like if games add to that, that's awesome. Two, like I think within sport and even within jiu-jitsu, like we already know how to get good. So I think people trying to come along and like reinvent the wheel, whatever, is kind of like, it's difficult, because I think when you look at the elite level in sport, we can see how athletes develop. And I think in jiu-jitsu, we have guys who do jiu-jitsu really, really, really well, and we train certain ways. And it's like, so I don't understand how you'd say then, oh, if this guy only trained this way, he'd be even better. Like, I think how they've trained is fine.
It's so silly. I also think like one thing about the ecological approach, maybe with beginners, is it cultivates a desire to go and find your own solutions to problems, which is going to help you learn to learn faster. But you still need someone to give you the answers. Fuck, like being told the answers helps so much. Man, if I'd never read a cooking book, I would still not be able to make pasta. However many games he set me to work it out myself. So it's handy to be told information.
Yeah, it's almost like we understand that as humans in lots of aspects in life. So like, why would jiu-jitsu be any different? But on the other hand, if people are able to market those things and make money from it, then I kind of understand why it's being pushed that way. So
I found it so hilarious, this man that believes that the best way to learn is purely independently through a set of games is busy doing a seminar tour in the UK. Dude, that's very unecological. I'm going to tell you the exact answers. Give me money.
well, I think what we can say to people is if they want some answers, they could sign up to your Patreon, Shay.
Yeah, that's great. I like this one. Shay Patreon-based ology. Can make this work.
And I just want to thank you for your time, enlightening us always.
That's really fun.
We hope to see you back in action towards the end of the year.
Oh, way before then. Way before then.
Way before the end of the year?
My aim would definitely be Eiger main tournament in June. Maybe Worlds if I'm feeling healthy enough before. So I don't know.
What matchups are you hoping for at AIGA?
The only like good under 60 person I can think of is Juni. It's maybe not the best first match back after one ligament being removed and the other reconstructed. Just pass with my left leg forward. No, my right leg forward, sorry. Left leg at the back. But yeah, that's the best match from there.
Awesome. And when's AIGA happening?
June 27th and 28th, I think.
Okay. And then maybe just to bring the conversation full circle, I think 2025, we're going to see the year of teams competitions, right? Because Polaris are doing a squads. We have the AIGA finals, and then we have CGI 2. So it seems to be that's the way like a lot of competition jiu-jitsu is going. Which it sounds
Year for teams.
the year, but from what you were saying, Shay, just to reiterate, you would like to see the best guys still going at it in like elimination competition.
Yeah.
Single
That's
individual.
best. It's the best, and then you get to see people against people their own size, their own weight, multiple matches, storylines appear, new heroes are crowned. That's what I want to see. And
Shay's suggesting for a single match he really wants to see is Jansen against Mika. Calum, give us one you want to see in 2025.
Andrew Tackett versus Levi.
Okay. Now, I think it's time. Calum's nearly sleeping on his bed there, Shay. I think we've tired him out. And he's got to teach tonight at SBG Aberdeen.
Me too. At least you got a warm place to sit in between as teaching all morning. Now I'm up here freezing and now you have to go downstairs and teach again.
Oh, well. Thanks for your time, Shay. I hope that's...
No worries. No, I would have been here being cold anyway, so there's no difference. Right, see you guys.
Thanks, Shay.